Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh for the last 8 years before my daughters moved to Denver and Los Angeles, so my wife and I moved to a neutral territory closer to them. So about R&D, really wanted to talk about optimizing R&D, and that really comes through new product introductions, from my perspective. That's what I've done in my life. Anybody have an idea what CCO means? Chief and Officer, what's the middle C? Interested in the confluence of blockchain and supply chain, so I went to MIT remotely and got bulked up on supply chain, so I knew what I was talking about there. It never stops. You're not here for 4 years. The 4 years is your foundation building, and we're going on from there. All right. And then my career focus, what I do now really is I focus on technology. I work in the early stage of companies. That's where my strengths are. I like to build companies, and I'm an unabashed engineering snob. So MBAs hate me because I think they're full of crap most of the time, right? And engineers who get empowered are really what drive the world. If we look at a formal organizational structure, you might see something like this. And if I get my clicker under control, right? So I don't like silos. I don't like that view of we have R&D here, and we have marketing there, and we have manufacturing over here. Every great company that you work with is going to follow the same equation, right? And it's that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Those are the companies you want to look for. Those are the companies when you have an opportunity that you want to build on. So if we focus too much on silos, and marketing does this, and research and development does that, and manufacturing does that, you really lose the strength of the whole system, right? And systems reinforce each other. If you think about silos, you get back to chain math. And a chain is only as strong as what? Weakest link, right? And there are going to be weak links at different points in time. You think about silos, your weak links are going to get exposed. You're going to know what tricks they use here, what tricks they use there. And they're very impressive. How do I trip them up? What's the very next question I ask? In the back row. What's the very next question? Yes, sir.
What did you learn from it?
No. Why was that problem worth solving? And these people just go and tell me what a genius they are, and then a dumbstruck look comes on their face. Because my advisor told me it was important, right? At companies, we have to figure out the right problems to work on. You'll get inundated. There's more on my plate every day than I can ever do. You got to pick the right battles. So what I like is he didn't say, okay, what makes an efficient firm? He questioned the fundamentals, right? Why do firms even exist? And I suggest as you go through your academic career, you always keep that in mind. For innovation's sake, right? People are going to get hurt if you spend $2.3 trillion and you don't have anything to show for it. So just two example comparisons. NVIDIA, and you'll learn about this when we get into finances, but if we look at their 10K, R&D expenditures, 75% of what's called operational expenditures, money not spent on building products, 75 cents on the dollar at NVIDIA goes into new development. Makes sense, because it's AI, right? They're the AI masters. If we looked at Procter & Gamble, like toothpaste, right? I made it red. That's like one guy, right? So they don't even report R&D. So not all companies are the same, right? NVIDIA, huge market AI, making big bets. I know Jansen, actually. I worked with him way back when he was still at LSI Logic. So he's telling his board, every dollar you give me, 75%, I'm rolling the dice on new stuff. So how do you justify that? Yes, ma'am.
I mean, NVIDIA has a huge audience that they can depend on. They know that they can buy their product. Like every new graphics card that comes out, there's going to be a lot of people.
Okay. Two things. Right? Again, there will be a lot of good ideas, but it's going to boil down to two things. Serving a large enough market relative to the R&D. So one of the things at Arieka, we're going after a niche market. So we're not going to be a unicorn, but the amount of money we need to raise is much smaller. It's like $5-6 million in our raise. I just met up with a friend of mine who's going to a new startup in the Bay Area, Gather. They're an AI startup. they had to raise like 40 million to get off the ground, right? And they have to serve a much larger market. So you have to get paid sufficiently, the market has to be sufficiently large for how much you're investing. And then the second is they're gonna pay you, right? So you don't wanna be innovating for innovation's sake. So what I like here is we've just looked at R&D and we defined success in 2 marketing metrics, right? So much for silos, right? Because if you want to have disaster in an organization, have the metrics for one silo be governed by another silo. Oh my God, you'll have people hating each other. You know, it'll be like Civil War. It'll be horrible, right? So we definitely want to break that mentality. All right, let's think about this. Kind of figured out what we need to do with R&D. It's a big deal. It's a lot of money. How do we know we're good at it? So ROI, return on investment. How do I know if I'm getting back what I put into it? Yes, ma'am. Were you just making a hand gesture? Not. Yes. Just moving the hand back and forth. Okay. Come on. You're really gonna make me walk up there. Blue hat, sir. Let's walk through it. Let's brainstorm. I mean, how we're putting this money in. It's a difficult metric. We'll talk about why it's difficult later. But what's Pat Gelsinger, Ms. Sue, Dr. Sue? They have to plop down tons and tons of money, and they're not guaranteed people are going to buy it. They have suspected people will buy it. So these outflows are pretty certain, right? If I go and I get a budget for $10 million to do a development project approved, I'm going to spend $10 billion or $10 million or $10,000, whatever it is. There's a leap of faith if that revenue comes through. So 1, there's a certainty involved, right? My outflows are more certain than my inflows, and 2, timing. You'd rather have $1 today than $1 tomorrow. So again,